Welcome to the 111 Approach podcast, your go-to space for deep thoughts, real talk, and exploration of everything from spirituality to self-development and the mysteries of life with some light-hearted humour along the way. I'm your host, Lakshmi, aka the 1 Minute Healer, and each episode will dive into different topics, sometimes personal, sometimes thought-provoking, but always authentic. So whether you're here for some new perspectives, inspiration, or just a fresh take on the world with a bit of randomness thrown into the mix, you're definitely in the right place. So what are you waiting for? Let's get into it. Hi, it's Lakshmi here, and before we start this week's episode, I need your help. Next year, I am taking on the biggest charity challenge I've ever done. Now, for those of you who know me well, you know I love to do things for charity ever since I was a child, from sponsored dance-a-thons, sponsored silences. Yes, I know, hard to believe me being quiet, right? Sponsored abseilings down buildings, and last year, even sleeping out on the streets of London in the middle of October in just a sleeping bag. I really try and push and immerse myself in things to raise money for good causes. And next year, I am climbing Mount Kilimanjaro for not one, but two amazing children's charities. Cordwell Children, who help disabled and autistic children all over the world, and Cordwell Youth, who empower at-risk adults aged 11 to 24. Now, this is the biggest challenge I've ever taken on because, number one, the target I need to hit is the biggest one to date. I need to raise £5,000, all of which goes to the charities, because actually the trip and expedition itself is self-funded. But hey, if you're a business and would like to sponsor that side of it, please get in touch with me. And number two, I've never climbed a mountain in my life. Although I did make up my mind at age 5 that I did find a mountain in Canada and claimed it as my own. But that's a story for another day. So please, if you are able to make a donation, no matter how big or small, it will really help me reach that target. And I will be forever grateful to you, as will the children who the money will go to. So thank you again. The link will be in the show notes below. And enjoy this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the 111 Approach podcast with me, Lakshmi, aka the 1 Minute Healer. And as always, I start and finish with gratitude, because what is better than a gratitude sandwich? I don't know, you tell me. So first and foremost, thank you so much for being here, being part of my world and supporting the podcast and everything I do. Really appreciate all the support. And without further ado, I'm just going to go straight into it, because I am super excited, super honoured to have someone who not only allowed me to connect with them via a distinct healing session earlier this year when they were not feeling too well, without even really knowing me that well, but then they also proceeded to invite me on as a guest on their podcast, and then subsequently had me exhibiting at the first ever Manifest Festival back in June of this year, which just speaks volumes of how incredible and kind and genuine this person is. He is not only the successful #1 UK podcaster, he's also a business owner, manifester, and all-round beautiful soul inside and out, who also used to work in the NHS. Like, could you get any more accolades behind this person? He has also proven that you can discover and start your soul purpose and passion at any point in your life. His remarkable journey into crystals, manifesting and podcasting started just 6 years ago, and he has now built up what can only be described as an epic empire, not only for the North, but for the whole nation and beyond. So ladies and gentlemen, people all over the globe, please clap your hands, scream at your phones, or wherever you're listening to on this. It is the one and only Mr. Mart Tweedy.
Hello. You don't have to clap your hands or scream at your phone or anything like that. It's just me.
No, it's not just you. It's you. You're amazing, honestly. Thank you so much, Mart, for coming on. I really appreciate it. So I always ask my guests to firstly start off with their origin story, because I'm a little bit of a comic book girl. So what is the origin story, Mart? How did all of this come to be?
I love that, and I love comic books myself as well. So as long as I can remember, I've always had quite a spiritual interest in, psychics, spiritualist churches, tarot decks, just generally being obsessed with anything supernatural or spiritual. But I never fully explored it, Like, even growing up, I can remember sitting there watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Charmed, like, every single week, because I was just fascinated, thinking that there's got to be more to life than just the black and white that we see every day. So I grew up in Durham, and I came from a family that had quite little, if I'm totally honest. Like, growing up, we always had essentials like food, water, and love. but my family were far from well off. And I think, like everyone else, my journey started probably when I'm going to say this was about 7 or 8 years ago now. I read a book called The Secret. And for those people that don't know, get to know. It's a
No,
book about
no.
manifesting desires. And with manifesting being a new concept to us, I was starting to visualize daily, and I decided to set myself a goal of £3,500 because I hadn't had a holiday in so long. I was so in debt, and I just thought, all I want is 3.5 grand for me and my partner to go away to Thailand. That's literally all I wanted. So I was working in the NHS, like you were saying earlier. I had about £15,000 of debt, and I was just basically working to survive. Like every single penny that came in went out and some every single month. So
Mm.
my debt was just racking up more and more and more. So every day after reading this book, I would lay in the bath and I would visualize myself on beaches, even to the point that I would play through my phone speaker like seagull noises, waves lapping against the shore, that kind of thing. And I just kept visualizing this £3,500 surplus in my bank account. And I remember one day I got out of the bath and I went on to me Mac, and I remember seeing an advert on Twitter, and it was for a new series of the ITV game show Tipping Point. I don't know if you know what that
Oh
is.
yeah, I love game shows.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be. I've always wanted to be on Family Fortunes. I love
Oh
that
my God,
one.
me too. Put me in your family, please.
On it, show it. This is my manifesting family. Let's go.
Oh, for
I'm
those of
down.
you that don't know, a tipping point is like, you know, those 2 pence machines that you have at the arcades at the seaside and stuff, where you put a coin in, it pushes all the other ones out. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but to cut a long story short, I took that inspired action, I applied for the game show, and a couple of months later, I got invited to a little audition at a hotel here in Newcastle. And before I knew it, I was being whisked off to Bristol, I was on the show, and it'll be no surprise that I was the winning contestant. And the amount that I won was £3,500.
Wow.
And it's almost like this light bulb moment went off inside of me. And I was like, holy shit, like I physically did this. So obviously, the more people that I told about this, the more I got shot down with people like giving me weird looks, people thinking I'd lost the plot and I was turning psychotic. It's quite a hard concept to explain to non believers. And I remember at the time telling my partner, Johnny, about it one day. And so I gave him the book to read as well. And I said, read The Secret, you know, come back once you've read it, kind of thing. And a few weeks later, he came to me and he said, guess what? I've visualized something small, just a £50 note. And today, my boss gave me two £50 notes to say thank you for going above and beyond with my work. So I was like, okay, this is it. This shit works.
Yeah.
And then guess what happened for the next 3 years? Absolutely nothing. I think more than anything else, my life just got in the way. You know what it's like? Almost like I
Yeah.
immediately snapped out of that cloud cuckoo land, what my mum used to call it. And I just kept on thinking to myself, I'm 30 years old, still working in the NHS, not for very much money. Like, it's time to buckle up at work and get my head down if I want to climb the career ladder. So if we jump those 3 years ahead to 2019, just to paint a bit of a picture, I've been working in the NHS at that point for about 12 years. And just like the majority of people in the UK, I was still in debt, more so now than ever. I had credit cards, I was struggling to get a mortgage, and I was surviving day to day, but money was so, so tight. And I just kept thinking to myself, like, how are you in a £30,000 a year job in the NHS, but still struggling to put food on the table? So I started visualizing all over again because I just thought, what have I got to lose? And
Mm.
I'd always had a keen interest on social media as well. And I thought, you know, one day I'll make it, I'll be on TV. So I remember being sat there visualizing myself sat on the couch on This Morning. And for some reason, right, Alison Hammond, she is like my all time favorite. I love her.
Fellow Brummy.
Yeah,
Let's
fellow
go.
Brummy. And you know what it is? Like, Alison wasn't even a presenter at that point. And I just kept picturing myself being sat on that couch next to Alison Hammond. That's all I was thinking of. And I don't know why I was thinking about that, but I just kept visualizing, hearing her laugh, like what she smelled of, what her perfume smelled like, just weird stuff like that. So anyway, one day, my friend at the time, Amber, she came to me and she was in the running to be on the ITV show Love Island. And
Yeah.
she basically asked me if I would look after all of her social media while she was in there. So obviously I jumped at the opportunity. I said yes. I thought this might be my way out of the NHS. And a few weeks later, things got crazy because she'd left me in charge of her social media. So I got invited onto BBC Radio 1. I was on BBC News Breakfast. I was on Capital Radio and local radio nearly every single day. And
Wow.
then the Huffington Post, the news site, they ran an article on me, branding me the most successful social media campaigner of all time. And I know
Wow.
it was absolutely crazy. And I was like, how is my friend in Love Island and I'm getting all the attention on the outside? But then guess what happened? I got invited onto This Morning to do a little section on Love Island. And just by chance, guess who came in on a day off? Alison Hammond.
No
Honestly,
way.
it was again one of those moments where you just really realize that visualization works because I'd spoken to them beforehand and I'd said, like, oh, is Alison in? And they were like, no, she's not in today. And I was just like, I'm not having that. And I remember going into the toilets and just sitting there, like, visualizing with my eyes closed, sat on this little toilet cubicle, just sat there thinking, I can hear her voice, I can smell her, I can see what she looks like, I can just feel the energy that she's given me. And she just came down the corridor on a day off.
Oh
And I
my
just thought,
gosh.
crazy. So fast forward just ever so slightly now, we're at the 29th of July, 2019. I'm on top of the world. It was the Love Island finale. Our mortgage had gone through that same morning after 6 months of absolute hell because of all my debt. We got the keys for our house at 5. And by 7 p.m., we were out in Newcastle. We were at this Love Island finale party, watching it on the big screen. And my friend Amber won. And obviously, I was ecstatic. And I remember
Yay.
being pulled up on stage in front of everyone. And I was crying, I was screaming. I'd had a few drinks at that point. We got home a bit later than planned.
Yeah.
The next morning, I was laying in bed, fast asleep, and I was jolted awake by my phone ringing. Now, I remember looking at my phone and it was like, fam. And I thought, who's ringing? Okay. So I thought, is it a journalist? Is it a PR? Like they're going to want a statement about Amber winning. But when I looked down and I saw it said ma'am on my phone, I
Oh,
just knew that
shit.
something was wrong. So I
Yeah.
immediately sat upright and I answered. And I can still remember like the awful feeling, like my whole gut sank. I just knew there was something wrong intuitively. And I relived that call over and over again in my head. And my mum told me that while I was out celebrating, basically nobody in the family had wanted to disturb me or spoil the mood. But my granddad had been taken to hospital in quite a lot of pain that came on instantly. And unfortunately, before he got to the hospital, he died in the ambulance. And
Gosh.
he wasn't
This.
ill. This literally came on so suddenly. Now, I didn't really have a dad growing up. My granddad raised me.
Wow.
So he was literally the father figure in my life. And I just felt like instantly my whole world had fell apart. It was kind of like a blurred few months after that. I can't remember what else I did that day. I know that I went over to visit my nana and my mom, and I can vaguely remember us all sat around crying, but I can't even remember like how I got there. Like, did I drive? Did I get a taxi? I
Mm.
just can't remember. And the months following that, I just totally closed myself off from the world. Like, I would literally be lying in the bath for hours on end, and instead of visualizing, I was just like a zombie. I was just staring at the ceiling, and I really could feel myself starting on this huge mental health decline, on this downward spiral. And I could, it's so weird because like I worked in mental health at the time and I was like, how can I be helping people with their mental health when I'm really struggling with mine? It's almost like you have to fill your own cup before you help someone else. And I was just unable to see a way out of it. A few of my friends had taken their lives that year as well. And I was just
Really?
starting to question everything, almost like, is this where I'm headed? Do you know what I mean? And the one thing that I do remember is I lay there in the bath one night and I called out to the universe and I just said, show me a sign that things are going to get better because I'm literally on the edge of ending it all right now. And then one day, the NHS, one of my managers, she sent me a message and said, we're going to send you to Liverpool. Okay. And I just thought, oh, Liverpool, because I used to travel up and down the UK basically.
Mhm.
And I love being in a hotel alone. That's my me time. Do you know what I mean? Getting away from everyone else, just being able to shut the door, do some self care, lock yourself in a room. I love it.
Room service as well, innit?
Exactly. Yeah. So I went off down to Liverpool for, I think it was like a week or something. And I got myself a hire car just so I could get around. And the girl who served me in that hire car place, she was called Carly. She recognized me from being on TV.
Mm.
And we immediately got on like a house on fire. So cut to a few months later, she opened up a crystal shop on Instagram. And because of how nice she was to us when I was in Liverpool, I just thought, you know what? I'm going to be nice and I'm going to support her. I don't
Mm.
have a clue what crystals are. So I bought a box of 5 tumblestones from her, not having a clue what they were about. So I was just messaging her daily, like, what do I do with this one? And what about this one? And where do I put it? And how do I meditate with it? And I started carrying them daily with us. Now, she'd recommended crystals for grief and for purpose because said I was really struggling with my grief and I couldn't see a way out of like what I was in. I wanted some purpose in life. And I kid you not, slowly but surely, those doors started opening for me with new opportunities. Obviously, everyone says, oh, yeah, time's a great healer. I thought, well, grieving got a little easier. And I was thinking, is that because a few months have passed now? Or is it because I'm carrying these crystals? Like, is it a placebo effect? And my mental health just seemed to improve day on day. So the more it did, obviously, the more crystals I then bought. It was like an addiction. I was like a heroin addict. And over the next 18 months, I think I accumulated over 200 crystals of my own. I was probably buying between 10 and 20 every single month. Yeah, I was
Wow.
spending a lot on crystals.
Yeah.
And I remember one night thinking, I'm really passionate about this. This might be a good idea if I start my own business, pairing candles with crystals. At the time, we were in the midst of the pandemic as well. Didn't really have a great deal to do other than obviously work. Couldn't see our friends, couldn't see our family. So I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to give it a shot. And I remember spending the last £250 in my bank account that was earmarked for food and petrol. I just took a chance and I thought, I'm going to buy a handful of candles from my friend who makes candles. I'm going to buy some like rough crystals from this shop down the road. And I remember I was trying to think of a name for it all. Now, my granddad, he's a Geordie, and he always used to say Gan Canny just before I left his
Mm,
house. It's kind of a Geordie way of saying take it easy, like go steady.
mm.
And I just remember hearing his voice in my head clear as day as I was trying to think of a name. And he said Gan Canny. And just like that, I thought, oh my God, canny crystals. I love
Love it.
alliteration.
Yeah, same here. I love it.
Yeah. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to just do this. The website was 99 pence to buy for a year. I was like, Shopify's free for the few months like trial period. And
Yeah.
just like that, I launched my website, cannycrystals.co.uk on my birthday, 30th of March 2021. Now, just to put that into perspective, we are now, 4.5 years into this? I have just over 100,000 combined social media followers. My podcast is constantly at number one. I think it's at number one right now as well in the
Yeah.
UK for spirituality. It's listened to by around 30,000 people a week. I've
Wow.
just recently completed, I think we did our 43,000th order. And I've just recently as well launched the Canny Crystals Academy. I say recently, it was 2.5 years ago, get with the times, to help others on their spiritual journey and come into their own. And then this year, I even released my own first book, which is called Limitless, because I just thought, I've gone through all of this and that's kind of my story arc, but I also want to help other people on theirs as well. And a lot of people like me wouldn't have even known that any of this existed had I have not been directed down it. So I see it as my purpose in life to kind of help other people down their kind of path. And then
Mm.
obviously, help them the best way that I possibly can.
Amazing. And you know what? Can I just add to that list as well? Is you've done your 200th episode
Yeah.
and you hosted and single handedly orchestrated the first ever Manifest festival in the North. Like, it was such an amazing day. And like, you did that pretty much all by yourself. So, like,
I love that you
wow.
said that I orchestrated it by myself because this is the thing, right? I used to get so many emails from people like, oh, can I do this for Manifest? Can this happen for Manifest? Can we have this arranged? And it was literally all me. And I am a control freak and I need to delegate a lot more. It's one of my biggest downfalls. But every single thing that you saw at Manifest and every single person that attended Manifest, everything that they saw down to the roller banners that were outside, the merchandise, the little pens, the lanyards, the presentation, everything was me. Like
Mm.
even down to like arranging the venue and the speakers approaching all them, like it was all me and I was doing that on top of everything else and while having a little baby as well because we had a baby last January.
No.
So it was
Oh.
just like I am a workaholic but I love it and it's my passion. And I think because it's my passion, I know this is so cheesy to say and so cliche, but because it's my passion, it doesn't feel like work.
Doesn't feel Like
And
work.
all I
Yep.
want to do is to help other people. And I thought, how can I do that rather than on one to one? How can I do that? So I created a membership, and then my members were like, we should all do a meetup and meet face to face or have an event or something. And I was like, I wonder if there's like an audience for this. So I put the feelers out, and yeah, we sold out, completely sold out.
Yeah. Amazing. It's so awesome. Thank you so much for like sharing that journey, because I feel like it's so important for people to hear that, where you've come from, how it started, and it can happen just so quickly, can't it? It
Yeah.
can. Um,
I think a lot of
I,
people are kind of like fed a silver spoon in the mouth. Do you know what I mean? Or they're kind of like given a business, or
mm,
they have, they've had money from an inheritance or something like that, for example. So it's like with me, I literally did it from scratch. And I always say to people, like, if I've done it, anyone can, because I'm not business minded. I've learned on the job. Do you know what I mean? It was
yeah.
only 2 years ago that I actually quit the NHS. For the first 2 years, I was working a
Wow.
full-time NHS role and doing this as well. So
Amazing.
yeah, it's crazy how much it's developed, but you've just got to jump in with both feet and grab it by the balls, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, are we allowed to grab balls now? I don't know. Boundaries, isn't it? Anyway, no, I jest. But it's so cool because it just goes to show like everyone's journey is so different. Lots of similarities as well. So from my side, mine was a bit more of a slow burner in terms. I was quite spiritual at birth, but I kind of shut it off, rebelled massively. Then it was in 2015 I got back into Reiki, but I was doing it I literally did it as a hobby, as a part time. And also, I was just trying to convince myself, like, prove it to myself. Like, does it actually work? Does it really? And even with the
Mm.
manifesting, I remember reading the book, The Secret, as well. And I thought, no, really? I'm just going to test it out. I'm a scientist, right? Like, let's put this to the test. And I remember manifesting a ring that I thought I'd lost, and it showed up. But I kept remembering. I was like, it wasn't even no, it was an expensive ring. That's why I was so freaked out about it. I was like, ugh, it was like my grand's ring that she'd given to me or something. And I just kept imagining that I was putting it on my fingers. I remember waking up every morning. I felt like an absolute lunatic because I'd pretend to pick it up and I'd put it on my finger for about 2 weeks. And it ended up, my mum found it in the washing machine rubber seal.
Yeah.
And I promise you, my mum, if any, people who know my mum, she is like Monica from Friends in terms of cleanliness and OCD. So she would have spotted that
Mm.
in the first wash. She would have spotted it. There was no way, because every time she empties the washing machine, she always runs her finger around anyway, just because it's happened before. And usually she would be looking for coins out of like my brother's or my dad's pockets. So she would have found it and it
Yeah.
wasn't there. I remember that so vividly. I think we can all, if you're into manifesting, I think we all have that standout moment where you're like, oh my
It's
gosh.
when the penny drops, isn't it? And you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
is this real? Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. And thank you for being so honest about the next 3 years were absolute zero, because that's what
Mm.
happens, right? Sometimes we just fall off and we get back into, like you said, life happens, but then it comes back around to it. But there was a few points that I wanted to pick out and just delve in to a little bit deeper, if you don't mind, before we come on to asking you all about crystals. But you said obviously you had gone through some dark times,
Mm.
especially in 2019. Um, some friends had taken their life, and then you obviously thought you might be going down that road as well. Do you mind if you elaborate a little bit on that? Only because I've actually spoken in a previous episode about my friend who took his own life, and it was just horrifying. And in fact, when I look back on it now, there were times in my life, multiple times in my life since that happened, that I was in a position where I was really, really sad. And I was just
Mm.
like, screw it, like, let me just, whatever. In fact, what would stop me was the impact that my friend taking his life had had on me, my friends, our friendship group, his family. And that was almost like a no, like you're not going to do that kind of thing. So is that something you'd be comfortable with
Yeah,
exploring a little
absolutely.
bit?
Yeah, yeah. So I think it was like the back end of 2018. I mean, without going into too much detail, one
Mm.
of my friends hanged himself, and
Oh,
it was actually one of my partner's like best friends. So that kind of hit home. And
yeah.
obviously, having to witness the aftermath of, his parents coming up from down south to clean out his apartment, and then to attend the funeral and just
Mm.
seeing like what an impact his life had on other people, it's really hard hitting. And then I think just a few more months had passed, and someone that I was initially like really super close with, to the fact that I would speak to them every single day, we kind of, I wouldn't say lost touch. We just kind of, when life gets a bit lifey
Yeah.
and gets in the way, round about 2016. So I hadn't really spoken to him a lot, but apparently he'd been going through a huge mental health decline. And I can just remember getting a phone call one night to say, yeah, unfortunately, he's taken his own life. And the way he did it was very, I mean, it's very gruesome. I really won't go into it, but
Yeah.
it really shocked me. And I can just remember being sat there for days thinking I could have done more, or I could have reached out, or I could have texted him or made more of an effort. And then it was kind of going through the anger phase at him. Like, I was just so angry at what he'd done because I knew it was affecting so many people. And
Mm.
then you go through that kind of phase of like blaming yourself. Do you know what I mean? That follows suit. So yeah, that was a really tough like 12 months, I'd say. It went from like the back end of November 2018 up
Mm.
until around about October 2019. And obviously I'd lost my granddad as well. So I was
Yeah.
really struggling. And yeah, like I was saying earlier, I just kept on thinking, how do you work in mental health when you're supposed to be helping other people and you literally can't look after your own mental health? But it's just like life happens to so many people. Do you know what I mean? We can't all just be this bundle of happiness and joy 24/7. Life does happen.
Mm.
So it's kind of just managing that internally. And I really struggled with that because I knew all the tools and techniques because I was teaching them to other people in mental health. But it's easier said than done, isn't it? It's
And
kind of like when you never take your own advice, but if
it's
someone else said the same thing to you, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I know this," but
yeah.
you take
Or
it
it's
in.
easier to tell it to like your clients or to the people you
Yeah.
were working with in the NHS. Yeah, thank you for sharing that and being so open with that, because that's something I feel like I wanted to talk to you about as well, being someone in mental health awareness, and then you struggling with it yourself, because I found that as well, especially being in this industry. People look up to you and they
Yeah.
kind of assume that because you have all the tools and the techniques and you guide and mentor people, that there's pressure or expectation of you to have it all figured out all the time. And it's always happy, rainbow, smiley, unicorn stuff. And it's like, actually, no, I'm also going through stuff, but it's really difficult. And I remember feeling like almost like a fraudster when I was
Mm,
going through grief or some bad days and some bad bouts. That was like, well, how can I show up and talk about this or do my 1 minute meditations about all of this stuff when I just felt like a fraud? Oh,
yeah.
and also when I injured my foot, I had this immense pressure to like, I have to heal it, I have to heal it. Otherwise, people are going to think, oh, why can't you just heal yourself because you're the 1 minute healer? And still, like, I do have still some pain in that foot, and it still kind of plays in the back of my mind. I'm like, should I tell people that I'm still in pain? Because they'll be like, oh, it's almost coming up to a year now and you still haven't healed your foot. How good
Yeah.
is your Reiki then? And I was just like, but is that even true? I don't know. Like, or is that our self kind of critical mind just playing at us? It's crazy.
I know. Just even recently, I was taking part in something which I can't talk about just yet.
Hmm.
And very cryptic, I know. But I remember the day that I left this thing, one of the other people that was there said they made the sly comment like, "Oh, he can't be that good of a manifestation coach if he didn't get the result that he was after." And I just thought, I'm just human like everyone else. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
yes, we've got all the tools and all the techniques, but like I said, life gets in the way. You're not some Zen guru just because you teach meditation. Do you know what I
And
mean?
yeah, and thank you so much for highlighting that, because also just because you're a manifestation coach, people come to you for manifesting tips and you're so obviously amazing at it as well. But we also have to remember that there are other people's energies, their manifestations and their healing journeys that also come into place. And
Yeah.
yes, this is probably what you want, but as we get into sort of the nitty-gritties of manifestation, it is also to do with the highest outcome for all
Yeah.
involved. It's not always just what you want to manifest, because if that's not in your highest timeline of what is going to be right for you down the line, because obviously we can only see tunnel vision, whereas when you're working with universal energies, or angels or spirit guides or whatever label you want to use, when you're working with these higher forces or higher frequencies, they can see pretty much the broader vision for you and what is going to be in the best purpose for you. So, we've got to also give up that need of controlling. And I think that's where people don't understand. It's a bit like, when you said when you're interested, because I love psychics as well.
Yeah.
And some people are, oh, well, with psychics, of course, why can't they win the lottery then? And it's like, it
Yeah.
doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Oh, but anyway. So thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it. But I kind of want to come on to obviously your favorite topic, crystals. And I I really wanted to talk about crystals on this podcast, but I thought I can't do this by myself. I need to get you on. And so I'm very happy that you've come on to give us a little bit of a lowdown on Crystal 101 with Mart Tweedy,
Mm.
please. So, what are crystals? How can we use them? And then, what would you say were your top 3 crystals that a complete beginner would need to have in their sort of
I
pocket?
love
Or
this question because obviously it's one of my big passions.
Mm.
I think we know everything in the universe is made up of energy. Like everything has a makeup of energy in some way, shape, or form. So all crystals do is they act as a kind of power hold for healing, kind of like a battery, if you'd like to think of it that way, because they allow positive and exciting energy to flow into the body and do away with the negative toxic energy. So, how crystals work is they channel your energy levels and they focus on healing your body from the inside out. So, like I was saying earlier, some people just kind of think that crystals carry the power to induce a placebo effect on the body. I mean, that in itself is scientifically proven to help medical treatment anyway. So if it works, it works. You don't have to know
Yeah.
the science. It's just some people like to know the science. But crystals have their own particular vibration and their own frequency as well. And that comes from their unique molecular composition that they're made from. So basically, it's kind of like, have you ever, like, you probably heard of aromatherapy, surely?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oils
So
and
it's
stuff.
like, if we were trying to uplift our mood, our mind, and our health in a considerate manner, we would often, go to a massage therapist for some aromatherapy or a massage or something like that, wouldn't we? So I always say to people like, well, if you believe in the scent doing something
Mm.
for your body, why can't you believe in the crystal like healing you or the crystal's energy being any different? So they act like a magnet. They can absorb the negative energies. They can welcome in fresh vibes. And obviously they're all naturally extracted from the earth as well. So they harness the energies of the sun, the moon, and the oceans, which, as we know, are all natural healing energies. So they therefore improve our state. So when you place or you hold a crystal over your body, it's going to interact with the body's chakras and it's going to promote physical and mental wellness as well. So if you use them in a certain way, they're going to be able to improve your concentration. They can promote physical, emotional, and spiritual cleansing, all the good stuff. And I think most people would quite happily buy a crystal, but then not know what to do with it. So obviously, you've probably heard you need to cleanse and charge them. And there are a few different ways that you can do this. It really all does depend on you, the user, and how you do it. But one of the most popular ways is to either use the energy of the sun or the moon. Okay, so tends to be the full moon. You probably heard like Beyonce even says she charges her crystals under a full moon. If it's good enough for
Does
Beyonce,
she?
it's good enough for me.
Okay.
So yeah, both bodies are set to supercharge your crystals and to cleanse them as well. Some people like to pass their crystals through smoke from an incense stick or sage. Some like to just visualize a white light encapsulating the crystal in their hand. Some use Tibetan singing bowls, let the sound wash away the impurities. Some bury them overnight in the garden. I don't, because I don't like to get soil all over mine. But I do
Yeah.
like to take them to the beach whenever I go down to the seaside and just take them for a little quick wash in the sea. But it's all down to you. And as I say this all the time about spiritual practices. Whatever feels best intuitively to you, go and do that. Okay. And then when it comes to caring for crystals or working with them, some people store them on shelves around the house. Like right now, I'm sat in my living room, I've got crystals up on my shelves. Some people will keep them in a bowl on the bedside cabinet. Some people stuff them down the bras to be always around their energy. I think when it comes to crystals personally, I don't think you can just leave them to sit on a shelf like that in your house and expect them to work day in, day out for all eternity,
Mm,
because that's what most people do. And then they'll pass crystal healing off as, I've tried it, it didn't work. Like anything
mm,
else, you've got to put in some form of work. So, as I mentioned earlier, you've got to basically look at crystals as though they're batteries. You know, sooner or later, they're going to need a bit of a charge and a bit of a kick up the bum. It's like if you got your mobile phone and you placed it up there on that shelf, do you really think that you're still going to be receiving calls and texts in a month's time? Of course
no.
not. You're going to need
Yeah.
to stick it on charge, give it a bit of love. So, as a general rule of thumb, once a week, usually on a Sunday, I go around the house with an incense stick, I blow smoke across all my crystals, or I'll wander around the house playing a Tibetan singing bowl or some tincture symbols just to refresh that energy of the crystals and give them a boost of life. And then once a month or so, I'll sit with them in my hands and just for a few moments, I'll close my eyes and I will just visualize with them. Sometimes I even speak to them, just telling them basically what I want them to help and support me with in my life. So this is classed as setting your intentions. And I think there's something so powerful about speaking your intentions to your crystals, letting it know where you want help in your life. You might look a bit like a loony, like doing it, but honestly, it really works. But I think everything I do in my day to day life, I manage to incorporate crystals in some way, shape, or form. So if I go in the bath, I've got crystals in the bathroom for
Mm,
relaxation all around us, like amethyst, howlite, celestite. On my desk at work, I've got crystals to increase productivity and focus, like clear quartz, aquamarine, carnelian. In my car, I'm always having car accidents, or I was until I put tourmaline, black jasper, and black obsidian in there.
there
They
you
are all
go.
highly grounding and protective crystals. So when I'm out on the road now, I can drive around knowing I'm protected from everything else. And I mean, you can totally imagine what my house is like, can't you, like me? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in feng shui as well. And I
Yeah.
know, obviously, you know all about feng shui, but I've got wealth and abundance crystals in my wealth corner. I've got selenite to cleanse above my front door. I've got
Mm.
labradorite behind the front door just to transmute any negative energy into positive. I've got tiger's eye and rose quartz in my relationship corner. I've got a giant lump of amethyst on my bedside table to help us have a rested night's sleep. I don't think there's a single room in my house that has less than two crystals in it. Put it that way. Even my toilets.
Yeah, same. To be fair though, I don't think I've got any in my bathroom, so I was quickly scribbling down the bathroom one, so I'm gonna put some in my bathroom, but I'm just getting more and more into the feng shui now
Yeah.
because I actually did something called Vastu, which is an
Oh.
ancient Indian version of feng shui. So I had someone come in and she did all that and she made me put all these like quite strange ornament things. And she was like, you need to have this corner red and this and this. I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. And then I was like, it was good. And then I was like, but in my head, because I've always grown up with the feng shui in the background,
Yeah.
I was like, I still need to also do feng shui, even though it kind of contradicted a little bit of what this woman was saying about Vastu. So I was like, well, I'll just do both because it can't help, it can't harm, right? But I love when you said that, people might think you're a bit weird talking to your crystals, but people talk to their plants,
Yeah.
and
Well,
that
our
seemed to be
words
normal.
have our words carry positive energy. Obviously,
Exactly.
if we are saying positive words, they are carrying positive energy. If we are saying something negative or nasty, they're carrying negative energy. There's
And there is science behind this as
Yeah, I was
well.
just about to say there's a scientific experiment done by Dr. Mamoto, I want to say,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Omoto.
Japanese, yeah.
Yeah,
The
he's a
Japanese
Japanese
doctor.
scientist, and
Yeah.
he basically had two jars of rice in water, and he spoke really angrily and negatively to one jar and really positively to the other. The negative jar started growing mold longer before the other one did. Now, you
Yeah.
can do this with water in the freezer as well. You just get two jars, speak positive intentions to one, tell it you're beautiful, you're kind, you're courageous, you're amazing. Tell the other one, you look like dirty shit water, you look like a sewer. And then put them both in your freezer and just watch how the crystalline structure changes as both of these jars are frozen. Such a simple thing to do. But yeah, our words have positive or negative intentions depending on what we do. So speaking to your crystals, you're just charging them with more positive intent.
I love that. And there's a little bit of an experiment we can do. And listeners, if you do it, please send me your pictures of the two. I'm going to actually do this as well because I've done it before, but it would be just nice to redo it. So it's almost like reinforcing it to
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, it does.
And yeah, you're right. Everything is energy. Like we don't even have to use the water. I mean, it's really good to use a water experiment because you can see how it physically impacts other structures. But we know how it feels when someone tells us,
Yeah.
you're such a beautiful person, you're so kind, you're so generous, versus you're a bitch, you're this, that, you're
Yeah.
so selfish. It doesn't make you feel good. Like, we can put all the barriers up and pretend we don't care about it, but internally it does kind of sting a little bit.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to highlight is where you were talking about crystals, because the one thing I always get asked about a lot with my clients and what I guide my clients on mainly is energy protection because it's so important to do. So what are some good crystals? I know you've mentioned tourmaline because I've known obviously black crystals are
Yeah.
very good. So tourmaline's one, obsidian, any more
Yeah,
you
so
could
I
add to
would
that?
definitely say the black crystals are the best. They are
Mm,
like your grounding protection shield. So black tourmaline, black obsidian, smoky quartz is another great one
smoky
as well.
quartz.
A black jasper, but anything black is basically your coat of armor. It protects
Hmm.
you. So that's basically reflecting and absorbing negative energy.
Yeah.
But I like other crystals like labradorite, for example. It's kind of like a grey crystal. It looks quite a deep grey, but then when you shine it into the light, it can give off like all these vibrant blues, greens, yellows,
Oh.
oranges. It's so beautiful. It's one of my favorite crystals. That transmutes negative energy into positive energy. So there's different ways about it. You can get something that absorbs the negativity, you can get something that deflects the negativity, or you can get
Hmm.
something that takes it in and spits out goodness. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
So there are
love
lots
that.
of different ways that you can protect. But I think hematite's another great one as well. Hematite is quite a silvery sheen. It's really dark, silvery grey. And yeah, I think it's just the fact that black and silver tend to be very reflective.
Hmm.
So obviously they are deflecting that negative energy back to whoever's causing it, basically.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And just before we wrap up, I always do a 1 minute meditation, and we are obviously going to do a crystal meditation at the end of this episode. But
Love
before
that.
we wrap this episode up, I wanted to ask you because I do get this a lot with clear quartz. Now, what are your thoughts on clear quartz? Because it is known as the master crystal,
Mm.
but so many people were like, oh, but it's so plain. It's so boring in terms of like the color and but I'm like, it's one of the best crystals to have. Like, it amplifies other crystals' energies, but it's just like, let's be honest, it's just a boring, clear crystal. So, what are your thoughts on that?
So, clear quartz, obviously, it is known as the master healer. It is an energy amplifier. So, obviously, it's basically the salt and pepper of the crystal world. If you had a chicken breast and you put it in the air fryer for 20 minutes or however long your chicken breasts take to cook, I don't cook, as you can tell.
Nor
And
do I, so I wouldn't
yeah,
know.
so obviously, if you did that and you tasted it, you'd be like, yeah, it's chicken breast. What about if you put some seasoning on it? You can elevate that flavor. That is literally what this like clear quartz does. Now,
Mm.
something else, I know that this isn't recorded for viewing, but this tiny thing here that I've got in my hand is Herkimer diamond. That's another great one.
Oh,
It
I've
is
never heard of that.
well, you have now. So
Yeah.
this one basically, it's quite expensive. It's about the same price as Moldavite because Moldavite's
Yes.
quite expensive as well.
Hmm.
So this little piece here, I think, was like £14 just for this tiny
Hmm.
little piece. And for those of you listening, it's about the same size as my thumbnail, basically.
Mm.
Now, Herkimer diamond is a great alternative to clear quartz because it's like clear quartz. It does exactly what clear quartz does, but on steroids. So I've been using this for the past 4 or 5 months now alongside my Moldavite because I was trying to amplify the energy of my Moldavite. And now I came across this beauty and I was like, "Do you know what? I'm going to do both hand in hand." And I've had some great transformations so far. And there's a lot more to come as well in the coming months. So yeah, I think if you're looking for an alternative,
Nice.
Herkimer Diamond is a great one to work with.
Right, I'm gonna have to put that on as well. And so just and you just quickly just skate over the Moldavite because Moldavite gets a bit of a bad rep. So I have a Moldavite and Can you just explain a little bit about that? Because that's kind of it's extraterrestrial, isn't it? So it's not from this planet,
A lot of people think that, but actually
is it?
no. No. So basically,
Misinformation. Oh my
yeah, so it
gosh.
is misinformation. Everyone thinks it's a meteor that hit the Earth. It's
Mm.
it's caused from the meteor that hit the Earth. If you think about how hot a meteor is when it comes in and it's literally burning up, it's thousands and thousands of degrees. This meteor hit in the Czech Republic. It caused a huge crater. As it hit, all of the ground basically went flying up in the air, but it was so hot, it actually melted. Like, so
Mm.
everything that was on the ground melted, went up in the air, and as it came back down, it formed and cooled into those shapes that we see.
Mm-hmm.
So when they've been basically, trying to excavate and stuff like that, a lot of the mines in the Czech Republic have since closed down because they think they've mined and found everything that they're going to find because this happened 15,000 years ago. And so the price of it just skyrocketed. But everyone's thinking, oh, it's extraterrestrial. It's been in space. It's come all the way from space. It hasn't. It was caused from a meteor. So it's had contact with a
Oh,
meteor to the point that it's melted so much, flew up in
yeah.
the air, come back down, cooled, hardened, and that's what we're finding. So personally, I don't think it's scary. But a lot of people that are susceptible, a lot more susceptible than me. Like I've had a friend in here and I've been counting out my Moldavite ready to put on stock on the website. And she's walked in the room and gone, oh my God, I feel nauseous. And I'm like, why? And she says, I don't know. I just feel really nauseous all of a sudden. And then I pointed out the Moldavite one day and she came over and had a look at it and she went, oh my God, I feel like I'm going to be sick. And I'm like, do you
Mm.
think it's the Moldavite? She held it in her hand. She nearly passed out. So a lot
Yeah.
of people, different people are susceptible to different crystals. Whereas with Moldavite, what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to enhance and intensify your transformation. So it basically looks at where you're supposed to be in life and it thinks, I'm going to move heaven and high hell to get you there. So it
Okay.
doesn't care about what you're going to do. It's going to be an intense ride because people see Moldavite as a time accelerator. And what might have taken you a few years to notice and come to terms with and benefit from, it all happens to you within a few short weeks. So
Yeah.
I don't want to also say it's the ultimate fertility crystal, but I think we are now on to our 33rd Canny Crystals baby from customers who have worked with it and since fallen pregnant.
What?
So little caveat, be careful ladies, keep your legs closed.
Well, I wear mine on my ankle, so and now I just cross my legs. But what was I going to say actually? So that's interesting because I got it
Mm.
a few years ago, and then I wore it. Things started shifting quite a bit, so I stopped wearing it, and then about a year ago, I put it back on again on my anklet. But now I feel like it's plateaued. So is it wise to kind of take it off for a while, let my
Yeah,
energy
I would
settle, and
I
then put
would
it back on?
definitely take it off, maybe give it a good cleansing, pop it out in the sun or the full moon, and then start working with it again, but work with it intentionally. So obviously, like tell it how you want it to support you, what transformation you're hoping to get from it, that kind of thing. Just spend some time with it. Because a lot of people say like, bought some Moldavite and it's not really done anything for me. And I'll say, okay, how are you working with it? And then they'll be puzzled and they'll say, what do you mean working with it? It's on my
Mm,
bedside table. And I'm like, well, what do you expect from it? Are you even in your bed all day, every day? No. Does it go with you to work? No. So how are you expecting it to work with you? Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
just sat there. You need to be intentional with it. You need to obviously carry it around in your pocket or, I usually have my ring on. So I've got a
Hmm.
Moldavite ring. I've got a Moldavite necklace, but I also keep a little piece in my pocket as well wherever I am. And this little piece comes everywhere with me. And that's purely
Yeah.
because I want to be around its energy. I want that transformation. I want those little intuitive downloads that come from it as well. So, yeah, that's what
Amazing.
Moldavite is.
Thank you. Thanks so much for that insight and also that myth busting. Thank you. So that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Mark. And really looking forward to Manifest 2026. It's over 2 days now. So
It
we're
is, yeah. It's going to be over
leveling up.
2 days. We are going to have 12 speakers across the 2 days,
Mm.
which is a lot more spread out than last year because I think last year this year, sorry, we squeezed 10 people in over the 9 hours and it was great, but everyone said by the end they were just exhausted, but they loved it so much, but they were just
Yeah.
exhausted. People kept on saying in the feedback, I would just have loved 15 minutes at the end of that talk just to, take it in and
Digest.
basically read back what I've written about that speaker.
But I'm watching the replay now because I was exhibiting, obviously, and I wasn't able to sit in on all the talks. But I'm watching it on replay, and I love the fact that it was recorded. So if you couldn't make it in person, people could have bought an online ticket. And so I'm now
Yeah.
like rewatching the replays, which I thought was fantastic. But yeah, sorry, you were going to say, so this year you're
Yeah,
doing it
so
over
I
2
was just
years?
saying, so next year we are spreading them out ever so slightly, so there's going to be basically a new person on the stage on the hour every hour, which is great because they'll do a 45-minute talk and then there'll be a 15-minute toilet break.
Yeah.
Obviously, this year as well, we didn't have any food or drink facilities because it was so short notice. Next year, all of your food and drinks are included.
Ooh, look at that.
I know it's spread across 2 days. I think this year we had 2 workshops. Next year we're going to have 12. And this year we had 12 exhibitors. Next year we've got 60. So it
Amazing.
is us leveling up. And as well as that, if you buy a whole weekend ticket, you also get to come to the after party on the Saturday evening as well, which is in the venue as well. So you don't even need to leave the venue. It's going to be on until about 11 p.m. We're going to have some great entertainment on. And it's just a way that people can connect as well, because everyone said 5 o'clock hit this year, and then they were all just, right, what do we do now? Go home?
Yeah.
Is anyone going for a drink? Is anyone like fancy going for some food? Because people meet each other there and they all became friends there. And a lot of people traveled there on their own. So I think they just wanted somewhere to network and a bit of
Yeah.
community aspect. So I was like, you know what? Let's make sure we've got that booked the entire weekend this time. And yeah, people can basically do what they want to do. So yeah.
So excited. And guess what? Yours truly will also be there. So if you haven't already got your tickets, make sure you do. And I've got a shout out to all my clients and followers who've already bought their tickets. Thank you so much for the support. But if you're listening to this and you haven't bought your ticket, what are you doing? Pause this, get on the link. The link will be in the show notes, and go and buy your ticket, and then come back and let's do this 1 minute meditation now. So Mart, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Honestly, very, very honoured. I'm going to leave all of your show notes and your website, links to the Manifest tickets, and also a link to your book, Limitless, which is amazing. Go and get it. And so what we're going to do now is obviously do this 1 minute meditation. I've got my crystal here, and even though I was giving it a bad rep of it's just a plain, boring, old clear quartz crystal, it is a master crystal. And it's actually, fun fact, if you do angelic Reiki, you actually have this as our master crystal. So all the angelic energies are actually infused into your master crystal as an angelic Reiki practitioner. So if there was ever a time to get a clear quartz, it is now. But you can use whatever crystal you'd like. Mark, what are you going to use?
I'm going to use my Moldavite.
He's
Why
going to
not?
use his Moldavite. There you go. Amazing. Okay, so if it is safe for you to do so, please do close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Hold and then breathe out through your mouth, and just allow your hands to gently fall on your lap, holding your crystal in your hand. And just take all of your intention and your focus into that crystal. Notice how it feels in the palm of your hand. See if you can notice the shifts and the energy radiating from this beautiful gift from our planet Earth. This is a tool to help you harness and amplify your power, the power that lies within you. This is a reminder that this beautiful rock holds frequencies and aligns with yours to help you remember that you hold more than you could ever imagine within yourself. And let this crystal be a reminder that you always have support and guidance, if not from your network of people, but always from this crystal, from your Mother Gaia and the universe. putting your intention into your crystal, taking a nice deep breath in, and as you breathe out, you can open your eyes. How did that feel for you, Mark?
That was lovely. It's just so calm and so I love mindfulness, do you know what I mean? So anything that brings me back after I've just rambled and rambled and rambled, it's just so nice to just like take a deep breath and recenter and reground myself as to where I actually am. So yes, thank you, Lakme.
No worries. That just did come through as like a lot of us do feel alone in this spiritual journey, and they don't have people to talk to, and they don't have people that make them feel safe, seen and heard. And so even if you feel alone, just remember you have crystals.
Yeah.
Like, I know it sounds a bit silly, but that if that's all you've got, that is more than like what you could ever need, because really, truly, we only have ourselves. And these can be such powerful reminders that you're never alone, because the earth's got you, your crystal's got you, and we've got you as well. So I wanted just to say a big thank you to everyone listening. Please do remember to go and share, comment and review this episode. Share it with someone who might be looking to get into crystals or might be skeptical on crystals. Send them this podcast episode and let's change their mind, right? And I will see you on the next episode, sending you all love, light and blessings.